Do you hear my cat screaming outside of the door because I have the audacity of not letting him in? The audacity. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be filming how I stay safe as a solo female traveler. Like I said in my last video, I've traveled a lot of places by myself, and actually I kind of prefer to travel by myself. Not that I don't love my husband, but you know, him and waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go photograph the mountains don't really go hand in hand. So I have a couple different ways that I stay safe while traveling by myself. One of those being just being aware of my surroundings. I don't look at my phone, I don't talk on my phone, I don't fiddle around with anything while I am getting in and out of my car. If I am out of my car in a place that is maybe a little bit sketch, I'm not going to distract myself in any way. Mini story time, but this past year when I went up to the Tetons, I made the mistake of not getting gas the day before. The campground that I was staying at actually had a gas station attached to it that was along one of the main roads leading into the Tetons. So it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I was getting ready to go and photograph that famous barn that's, in front of the Tetons that you see on a lot of postcards and stuff like that. So I went, pulled around the campground, went to go get gas, and of course, 3 o'clock in the morning, there is a car that is driving by, and I am not kidding you. It sees me at the gas pump, slams on its brakes, and pulls into the gas station. Like, it's not like they were planning on going and getting gas at that point. No, they saw me, slammed on their brakes, and pulled in. And it was in that moment that I was like, I have enough gas to get me where I need to go, and I can always fill up later. So I quickly ended my transaction, put the thing away, hit no, got in my car, locked the doors immediately, and pulled out because I didn't want anything to do with whatever this person was doing. They creepily just ended up sitting in their car in the gas station parking lot and watching me. So way number 2 that I stay safe kind of goes hand in hand with the first one, but I won't get gas if it's not on a major road. If I'm out in the middle of nowhere, homie not getting out of her car. We ain't going anywhere. So I will literally, even if I have half a tank, if I see a gas station that looks like it has a bunch of people at it, I will stop and I will fill up there. Just so that I avoid the whole, okay, so it's me and the gas station attendant. That's weird. I always make sure that I have a decent amount of gas in my car because of that. To number 3, if I haven't been to a place in depth, actually gone out and explored it, I will actually pay for a campground. And usually I get one that's kind of off the beaten path, but in the summertime, almost all of the national parks, almost all of, the major places, they're going to have enough tourists that, there's strength in numbers. Even if you have one bad egg in the campground, you're going to have enough good eggs that even if the bad egg tries to mess with you, you're going to be fine. So I hadn't actually been up and actually explored the Tetons before last year. So when I went up there, I specifically booked a campsite that I knew was going to be a central location that was affordable, that had the gas station, that they even had a bar in it, but I didn't partake. But that way it just made me feel a little bit more secure in the sense of if something goes wrong, I may not know everybody around me, but at least I feel like I can kind of rely on them if started hitting the fan. So another good thing about campgrounds is you can shower in campgrounds, which I purposefully go on hikes. Being able to wash that sweat off afterwards is really awesome. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I always am camping in campgrounds when I travel alone. So Arches is a good example of a place that I have been to. Moab and Arches, and Canyonlands is just south of Arches, I have been to that location so many times, and I am so familiar with that area that I have a place in, it's called Dalton Wells, and it's just, I mean, a lot of people that go out there for off-roading actually camp there, and I feel safe and I feel secure, and I know that, again, there are enough people there that if things were to happen, I would be fine. And it's right off of the main road leading into Moab. So that is a good example of, like, I don't always get a campsite. I'm cheap, so. I think I said in the last video that I have a girlfriend that she lives out of her van almost full time. And I met her in Zion. So when we did that, we looked for Bureau of Land Management land. We were able to find a beautiful campsite and we're able to camp there alone. But again, like, we're two girls. And so with that, we made sure that the place that we were camping wasn't so secluded that if something were to happen to us, we couldn't easily get that help, if that makes sense. Number 4, when I go out hiking on these trips, it's similar to when I camp on the trips. I make it a point to only hike the trails that I know that there are going to be other people on. So, I mean, one person on the trail scares me. 15 people on the trail doesn't scare me. So, one of my other TikTok videos that got a lot of traction was a lake in the Tetons. I'm not going to say the name of it because it's not a designated trail, but when I found that trail on All Trails, which is an app I use, it said that it had moderately high traffic on it. And so when you're hiking in places like this, I mean, it's not only the people that you have to worry about, it's also going to be the bears and the wildlife, and I actually ran into 3 bears on that trip. And similar to with other people that you have to be worried about, you also have the strength in numbers when it comes to that wildlife, because the wildlife doesn't like running into you as much as you don't like running into it. Number 5, is that what we're on? One of the other ways that I stay safe as a solo female traveler is by carrying pepper spray. I actually purposefully have it in several places, so I always keep one on my keychain. But then I have, one that I keep in my camera bag. I have one that I keep in my little pocket of my door. I purposefully carry this stuff everywhere so that, let's say that I don't have my keys and I, only have my camera bag. That way I have it accessible to me there. Let's say that somebody, let's say my keys are outside of my vehicle, but I'm in my car sleeping and I need access to it. It's in my car door. I leave it places so that I never have to worry about having one near me while I am out hiking. I've never had to use it, luckily. I mean, that's worst case scenario, but I carry that because I don't have my concealed carry and I don't necessarily feel comfortable carrying a knife or anything like that. I mean, I do carry a knife, but it's not for protection. It's for, cutting boxes and stuff like that. Like, not because I'm gonna stab somebody. One of the other ways that I stay safe is, let's say that I'm pulling up to somewhere to camp. Depending on where it is, I will not get out of my car. So, good example, I camped at a Walmart last summer. I made the mistake of not typing in my end destination out of Zion, and I typed in get to Monument Valley, and then I was going to worry about after Monument Valley after that. I was literally just stopping in Monument Valley to take a couple of pictures, and then I was moving on to, I was going to stop in Durango, Colorado. So I get to Monument Valley, I'm taking pictures, it's great. Don't have service. Rookie mistake. I kind of just continue driving north. I figure worst case scenario, I either end up in Moab, which I know how to get myself home from Moab, or I really wanted to end up in Durango. So luckily I was able to get service and ended up in Cortez, Colorado by the time that I felt like I needed to pull over because it was no longer safe for me to be on the road just because I was so tired. Walmarts are a good place to just park and camp because They have security cameras. They actually allow you to camp in their parking lots for the most part. And it's always lit up. So between the security cameras and it being lit, like, for the most part, not a lot of people are going to mess with you in that situation. So I pulled into the parking lot and there were dozens of other people parking in the parking lot. Would I have probably been fine to go to the bathroom and get out of my car and stretch? Yes, probably would have been fine. Really want to risk it. So I ended up staying in my car. I traveled from my front seat to my back seat, slept in my back seat, and then when it was time to go in the morning, crawled from my front seat, or from my back seat to my front seat, and ended up waiting until I got to like a safe place to pull over, go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, do all of that stuff. And that is, I mean, it kind of limits your exposure, right? So you're limiting someone's, I mean, this is so messed up, but someone's ability to actually grab you or do anything bad to you. If they can't get in your car, what are they gonna do? Alright, well, thank you so much for watching. This is, again, just a little bit crazy that, I mean, don't picture myself as a YouTuber, so I really appreciate the fact that you guys are even watching this. If you guys have any more questions, or if you want me to film anything else about how I travel as a solo female in my car, let me know. I would be happy to film another video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe, and I will be back next week for another video. Thanks!